That's the goal.
The main thing is that we have gone away from oil and replaced it with biomass in the heating sector. Almost 90% of the energy used for heating here in the city comes from renewable energy sources, and also a lot of the electricity is based on renewable energy. We have a little more to do in the transport sector, but also there we can see that the emissions is going down. We have been able to give subsidies to people so that they will help us to reach the target by throwing out their oil boilers and replace them with pellets boilers, for example.
Transportation is one of the most difficult sectors for local leaders to influence, since traffic tends to travel from city to city. Without stronger national policies promoting biofuels over gasoline, Växjö will have difficulty reaching its long-term target. But it's doing what it can. Green cars running on biofuels park for free anywhere in the city. About 1/5 of Växjö's vehicles run on biogas produced at the local sewage treatment plant. Earlier in the show, we asked whether biofuel technologies and techniques were a recent development. Well, the pioneers of the motor vehicle industry were well aware of the value of biofuels. The inventor of the internal combustion engine, Nicholas August Otto, knew his design could run on ethanol, and Rudolf Diesel thought peanut oil would be a good source of fuel for his diesel engines. Even Henry Ford initially intended ethanol to be the fuel for his famous Model T. Okay, tech heads, we all realise that we need energy to power our lifestyles. But we all know that the way we make that energy is causing masses of pollution and heating up the planet. Wind farms and giant solar installations won't be on the radar of the average consumer. When these plants are up and running, we won't notice the difference at home. We'll flick a switch just as we've always done. As long as government and industry have taken care of the CO2 angle, we'll be getting our electricity supplied in much the same way. But everyday tech heads will still need to run their cars. When it comes to fueling up, we'll be faced with the kind of choices that we don't have to make about our home electricity needs. We've already seen that biofuel technology goes back a long way, but it might help to understand a little more about it. Crop plants, such as canola, offer the potential for industrial-scale renewable energy supplies. Vegetable oils can be converted to biodiesel and starches to bioethanol, a petrol substitute. But these are currently more expensive options than fossil fuel. Researchers believe they have the solution to maximising the potential of this renewable energy source. They're working with Failcress, the first plant to have its genome comprehensively sequenced. It's a close relative of the plant group known as Brassicas, which includes canola.
Our research is really focused on understanding how genes regulate plant development. And we've been working with a model organism which is related to some crops like brassica crops, but is a very useful experimental system to understand how genes regulate development. And this has led us to identify genes that control the pathway of accumulation of starches and oils. So in a sense we've been trying to understand molecular switches that will switch on the production of starches and oils.
And they've taken a genetic approach. Starches and oils accumulate mostly in the seed, but the research team has found genes which, if turned on in tissues like leaves and stems, promote massive accumulation of starch and oil. The production of energy from specially grown crops is also carbon neutral. The energy-producing elements are made in the plant from carbon dioxide taken up from air. Any CO2 that's later released back into the atmosphere is only replacing that taken out to make the oils and starches in the first place. So there's no net contribution to the atmosphere's CO2 burden.
with the decline in the availability of fossil fuels and so the increase in price, plus the concerns about carbon dioxide released into the air through burning of fossil fuels, there's a lot of political pressure to try and find renewable sources of energy, and these crops that produce starches and oils represent new sources of renewable energy.
Another team is leading the field in the development of fast pyrolysis, a technique which can convert biomass and bio-waste into a biofuel through a carbon-neutral process.
Fast pyrolysis is a process that's similar to the traditional way of making charcoal, but it does it in a far quicker way. It processes small pieces of biomass from trees or from crops like miscanthus or straw, heats it very quickly to a carefully controlled temperature around 500 degrees and cools the products down very quickly. And in so doing, we make a liquid we call bio-oil, which is like this. And then that bio-oil can be used for energy, for power, for heat, and for chemicals.
The bio-oil is easy to store and transport, and it's versatile. The team have experimented with a number of different forms of biomass and successfully turned them into the same oil. All organic matter can be used to produce clean energy sources in a sustainable way in a closed carbon cycle. Growing vegetable oil crops is not necessarily the most effective use of limited land resources, as they produce just 1 to 1.5 tonnes of biodiesel per hectare. By contrast, the fast pyrolysis process can generate up to 3 times the amount of renewable liquid fuel from the same land area.
We are limited in the UK by the amount of suitable land we have available for growing biomass. The second limitation is the high cost of producing that biomass in a country like the UK. But if there was sufficient biomass available, one can consider what's called a biorefinery of the order of millions of tonnes per year. A biorefinery will take in a bio-oil or biomass and produce an optimized combination of energy products, fuel products and chemicals that is energetically and economically as efficient as possible.
Sound good? Well, of course, at the moment, fast pyrolysis is not competitive with fossil fuels. But with rising oil prices, it could make a major contribution to a cleaner, more sustainable planet. And that's good for everyone, tech heads.